If I had to pick the best tech gift of all time, it was when I was a kid and I think I was 9 years old. And video games weren't really even a thing back then. The only kind of video game you could get was those Pong games that literally burnt images into your TV screen if you left them on too long. So that Christmas morning, we opened up this box and it was an Atari 2600. It was just amazing. Like, it was the most brilliant Christmas gift we could ever get. And I don't think you realize how momentous this was in the technology space. The graphics in our minds were amazing. You know, the first game we played was the combat game, so you get to be these little tanks. And the tanks for us were like the most amazing graphics we'd ever seen, but basically like little blocks with a little thing sticking out to denote the actual turret. And another great game was Adventure. The knight was like literally a cursor, a square, and the sword was an arrow. And occasionally these crazy looking dragons would come out and you'd have to just basically run into them. And it was kind of a funny system as well. Like, I think one of the switches on the console itself was color or black and white, and we thought that was cool. We could play the games in color or black and white. I think what made that gift so special was that it was such a leap forward in technology, and you know, as little boys, that's just something that we totally gravitate towards. But it was great, you know, to actually be able to play with my brothers, you know, these different games. And boy, we sure made a lot of new friends as well. All these kids coming over to play the Atari game.
You know, my favorite tech gift of all time, and people are gonna think I'm pretty much a nerd, but when I was a kid, I was a nerd. It was one of the first ever multi-function printers. It was an MFC printer. It was amazing. Okay, I gotta tell you why, okay? So I woke up on Christmas morning and I walk out and underneath the tree, there it is, like in all of its glory, this giant box. And that present for me was from Santa, and it was the biggest box underneath the tree. Like, no one had a bigger box than I did, because those things are huge. So sure enough, I walk up to that thing and it was my turn to open a present, and I just rip it apart, and inside is this beautiful multi-function printer. So this thing had fax built into it, it had a scanner built into it. Remember, it was 9,600 bits per image. It was like one of the best scanners that you could get, and it was a printer all built into one. I remember I was like, I think I was around 16 or something like that, and I was like so happy that we got this thing in my house, because now I could like print and fax. I could fax. And I plugged in the fax line and I actually sent out a fax. It was awesome. Gotta get connected.